Good morning, everybody. We are in Phoenix, Arizona. We're here with pro wrestler Sean Morley, aka Val Venis, aka the Freetarian. So welcome to the Motorhome Diaries.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy.
So we just had a great breakfast. You bought us some food, and we appreciate that at the Waffle House. So we were talking for a while. How did you discover the ideas of freedom?
Well, you know, I was educated in Canada with the public school educational system, of course. You wouldn't expect anything less than coming out of the educational system run by the government, anything other than being a socialist or even a communist. And so I came out of high school very far left-wing socialist. And it's just what it wasn't that I was involved in politics an enormous amount, but what I was taught in school was very left-wing, and it was taught by people who I thought were authority figures, and so I believed what I was taught.
Yeah.
And when I came out of high school and got into the real world and started to, you know, ask questions and started to think back to a business I was running during high school, and it was, I guess, an illegitimate business because I was doing it without a business license, and I had Revenue Canada come knocking on my door and basically asked me where my business license is in order to operate, and I was cleaning east troughs, literally my neighbors' homes, and so they were asking questions. And that, as the years went by, I would always think back to the incidents with Revenue Canada, asking those questions and making demands of me. That it got me thinking, where do they get the authority to do this? And that was generally how the spark was ignited. And so when I came out of high school, I started to ask questions, study, debate the issues, and I started to see another side of the coin that I was never taught in public school.
So where do they have the authority to take your money and to regulate you?
They really don't have the authority. The only reason they can do it is because they have a monopoly on force. And so they can force you to do things even though it's illegitimate.
Yeah, they're not working alongside you, but they still want that cut of your money.
Oh, absolutely. And when you break it down to the very, very basics of freedom and liberty, where if I make a private deal to go and work at Subway with the owner of Subway for $5 an hour, that's a private deal between him and I. If my neighbor does not like the fact that I'm working for $5 an hour and feels I should be working for $7 an hour, the neighbor doesn't have a right to step into that business deal and force the owner of Subway to pay me $7 an hour. He doesn't have the right to do that. If he doesn't have the right to do that, it's also true he doesn't have the right to delegate that power to a governing body to step in and do it for him.
Yeah, totally agree. And so you're out there, you're spreading the ideas of freedom, you're educating people, and because we think that's important. So you have like Freetarian.com, you have a Justin TV channel, you have MoneyShotTees.com. Tell us about those brands, but also tell us why you think it's important for us to share these ideas of freedom.
I think the ideas of freedom are very important because as government grows and expands and erodes our freedoms and liberties and takes more of our wealth that we acquire justly, we're going to find a country where government literally has taken every responsibility away from the individual and put it upon themselves. Healthcare is a prime example. Mm-hmm. My healthcare, my family's healthcare is my responsibility, not the government's, but the government sees otherwise. And so I don't want my child to grow up in a country where she doesn't have any responsibilities. The government takes care of everything for her. And that is very destructive to incentive. It's very destructive to a human being's will to succeed, to produce. And that's not the kind of country I want to grow up in.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a choice to eat at Waffle House or to eat at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And if we go to a government-controlled society, you'll have one choice, which is one restaurant. They all cook the same, and that's not the kind of country I want to live in.
No, and that's the battle lines, right? It's choice versus control.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier about your family, and it's very international. Now you're a Canadian. You're from the Toronto area, right, living in Phoenix, Arizona. And but tell us about the rest of your family.
Well, being Canadian, and having a green card here in America, and I will pick up my American citizenship. My wife is from Mexico City, and so with her green card, she's going to pick up her American citizenship. So we'll be dual citizens on both sides of the border. And then my daughter, who is American, will also have a Mexican passport and a Canadian passport. And so we pretty much have all North America covered. So we're good for the North American Union.
That's right. And so I should mention that you first came on my radar, I don't know how many years ago, but you were at the first Liberty Summer Seminar. Our friend Peter Jaworski runs that, and you
Yes.
spoke out there. And so we're going back this year. It'd be good to see you up there again sometime when you want to come to Canada again.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to be up there. And if I'm not in Japan, I might have to make my way up there for sure.
So okay, so you're doing wrestling in Japan right now. What's the
Yes.
what's the name of the outfit?
New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay, and you've done wrestling for WWE. So how is it being a libertarian in pro wrestling?
You know, there are a lot of guys that really don't care about politics, except on April 15th when they have to sign a huge check over to Big Daddy government. But there are some guys that have become not just involved in politics, but I mean hardcore activists. Kane is a prime example. When I first met Kane back in 1998, he was pretty much a party line Republican. He had more liberty views than the average Republican, but he was pretty much party line Republican. Didn't really care a whole lot about politics, and I introduced him to the philosophy of liberty, and he took the ball and he started to learn and study, and he turned in, I mean, he's known as the Big Red Monster in WWE, and in the liberty movement he's known as the big giant liberty guy that goes around and spouts off about liberty. I mean, he's literally a monster in the movement, and it's incredible to see the transformation he's made from being a party line Republican to being a very principled libertarian.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, that's great. It's a good meeting with it. Oh, I should also mention, so like last night we got done meeting with some the Freedom Phoenix folks. We get an email from Sean saying, hey, you know, I don't know how far out you are, but if we can have breakfast in the morning. And so, yeah, we just rolled up. You bought us breakfast, and you're going to go work out with Pete pretty soon. So,
Heck yeah.
Man, we sure do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, keep fighting the fight.
Heck yeah.